Students, are you ready? I hope you are, because today we are going to be talking about how to prepare for our big hike later this week. Oh yeah, are you excited about climbing Mount Tammany? Wait a minute, I couldn't hear you. Let's try that again. Are you excited about climbing Mount Tammany? That's what I'm talking about. Now, before we get into some information I have to share with you, I have to take off some of the layers that I am wearing because I have dressed according to the weather today. But I don't know what the weather on hike day is going to be, so you'll have to make sure you plan accordingly for the weather on hike day. I'm wearing my cap now in order to shield my face from the sun, but I'm going to take this off right now. I'm wearing my sunglasses to protect my eyes from the sun. Oh yeah, but I'm going to take these shades off now. And you'll notice that I am wearing different layers. I'm starting with a sweatshirt. It might be cold at the beginning of the hike, so if it's cold at the beginning of the hike, I may wear a sweatshirt so that I can layer my clothes. But right now, I'm pretty warm, so I'm going to take my sweatshirt off now. And under my sweatshirt, I have a long sleeve shirt. And, depending upon the weather, if it's cold and windy, a long sleeve shirt can help protect my skin from the elements. Can also help protect me from bugs. If there's a lot of bugs and mosquitoes out, hey, I can protect my arms by wearing a long sleeve shirt. But as you continue to hike up the mountain, you're going to be generating heat. You're going to be getting warmer and warmer. I know I do. And so underneath my long sleeve shirt, I also have a short sleeve shirt. And probably for most of the hike, I will be wearing my short sleeve shirt once I start building up a lot of heat energy as I begin to hike. So make sure you dress appropriately for the weather on hike day. It'll be earlier in the morning. You might be a little bit chilly starting out, but it's probably not going to take you long to heat up and start generating a lot of heat. But as we descend, it may be getting cooler towards the end of the hike as well. So if you've got other layers to put on, that may help you keep you a little bit more comfortable. But hey, let's get started now with some very important information about hiking Mount Tammany. What you need to know before we go. You like the rhyme? I know you did. Yeah. All right. So let's. Whoa, there's two of me there. I don't know how that happened, but let's. That was pretty frightening. Two of me. Ooh, what could be worse than that? All right. So let's get to some important information here. Mount Tammany. We are going to be hiking this mountain in northern Warren County on Earth Day, April 22nd. Also my wedding anniversary. But on our hike, we are going to be riding our school bus up to the Kittatinny Point Visitor Center, and we'll be all assembling there first in order to discuss the region and the history of the water gap, both the geologic history and the cultural history, and stretch out a little bit before we begin our hike. When we begin our hike, we'll be starting out. We're going to see an awesome view for a group photo op before we begin ascending the mountain. And then we're going to be walking underneath Route 80 to the beginning of the Red Dot Trail. We are going to be climbing up the Red Dot Trail, and if you notice the hand here, you'll see the trail as we ascend to the top of Mount Tammany. And if you remember learning about topographic maps earlier in the year, you can see that the topographic elevation lines here on this map are a lot closer together on the way up than they are on the way down, which means there are some really steep sections of the Red Dot Trail as we climb to the top of Mount Tammany. But as we ascend or climb to the top of the mountain, we're going to have a couple of vistas or overlooks. The first real good one is going to be what's often called the Arrow Island Overlook. And the Arrow Island Overlook gives us a beautiful view looking right down south or downstream the Delaware River over Arrow Island, which looks like the shape of an Indian arrowhead. We'll talk more about that when we actually get up there, but that's a great photo op. Just stay away from the edge. Next, we will continue to ascend and we'll be going to the top of a geologic feature called the Indian Head, which I'll point out in a picture later on, before we get to the actual summit, over 1,500 feet above sea level. So we are going to be climbing up the Red Dot Trail. It's very steep, and I'll show you some pictures of that later on. But once we get to the top, and it'll take about an hour and a half for our group to climb the mountain, we're going to stop for about a half an hour at the top for our lunch. After eating lunch, we will then make our way down a different trail, the Blue Dot Trail. And the Blue Dot Trail is a little bit longer in distance, but it's a little bit more gradual in slope. So we'll be climbing down the Blue Dot Trail. It's a little bit safer to descend the Blue Dot Trail than the Red Dot Trail. But as we do, we're going to stop for a little while near a waterfall and a footbridge for another photo op. It is a beautiful sight along Dunfield Creek as we continue to descend. And then we're going to join up with the White Dot Trail, which is the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail, probably the world's most famous trail. It extends from Georgia to Maine over 2,100 miles. We're not going to be hiking that trail. That trail takes about 5 months at least to hike. We're only hiking the Mount Tammany Trail, which will take us about 3 hours to hike the whole thing. And then as we continue to descend along the Appalachian Trail, we'll make our way back to the Kittatinny Point Visitor Center, which unfortunately is still currently closed, but there is a nice pavilion there for us to regroup and await our bus to return to the school. So that essentially is the trip that we will be making. But the National Park Service, if you visit their site, gives certain guidelines before ever starting a hike in a national park. And by the way, the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area is technically a national recreation area right now, but it is being considered as being identified as part of the National Park Service as a national park. So stay tuned, keep your ears tuned into the news, because in the near future, the Delaware Water Gap may be our next national park. But there are 4 guidelines that the National Park Service offers, and it includes knowing your limits, planning your hike, knowing what to bring, and hiking smart. So we're going to take a few minutes right now to go over these things, beginning with knowing your limits. Behind me is a picture of what I like to call the Stairmaster. This is the first significant hike on the Red Dot Trail. And if you look at this picture, let's see if you can see behind me, there's a red dot painted on this rock here. There are red dots on a white background painted on the rocks and the trees as we will ascend the Red Dot Trail. But you need to ask yourself some questions before hike day. Are you fit enough for the hike? Seriously, ask yourself. If actually, I'm questioning myself whether I am fit enough. So a few weeks ago, my wife and I decided to hike the trail, and we survived. So even though my knees are still recovering from it a few weeks ago, I think I am fit enough for the hike. So if I am an old geezer like me, I hope you have some physical activity level, and so hopefully you're physically fit enough. But hey, you might have some specific health concerns that a doctor is concerned enough about you that maybe this isn't the hike for you. There are plenty of other hikes you can take that aren't as physically demanding as the Mount Tammany hike. This is a physically demanding and grueling hike, let me tell you. Next question you want to ask yourself is, am I able to carry my own gear? And we'll be talking about what specific gear you'll be carrying, but if you've been carrying your backpack around every day in school with all of your books in it, I'm sure you're able to carry your own gear on this hike. And we'll talk about what gear that is. And finally, the question you should ask yourself is, am I confident I can make it? If you are really questioning whether you are physically fit and able to carry your own gear, and after this video, you've learned about the extent of this hike, and you're like, you know what, I just don't think I can do it. Well, it might be a good idea not to attend. It's for your safety. But I'm confident that all of you watching this video will be able to make the hike. Stick together in all kinds of weather, and you'll do just fine. All right, the next thing is planning your hike. Do I have a trip plan? Well, if you pause this video long enough, you can probably make out the trip plan here. For those of you attending the hike, I will be sharing this plan with you, and I have shared this plan with your parents and the school's administration. So everybody knows where we're going to be and approximately when. This is very important. If ever you go on a hike on your own, it's important to let someone else know where you're going and when you are going. That way, in case you don't show up at an appropriate time, somebody can come looking for you and they should know where you are. It is very important to have a trip plan. The second thing is, do I have an emergency kit? Now, you're all going to be carrying your gear, which we'll list in a moment, but please know that I will have a fully equipped first aid emergency kit with me. That's why my pack is probably a little bit bigger than yours, because I am going to be carrying some additional things that some of us might need along our hike. So I will have an emergency kit. But if you ever go hiking on your own, make sure you have at least a basic first aid kit that you can utilize if you get injured along the way. Thirdly, as far as planning your hike, do you have communication? Now, I know many of you have cell phones. You don't even have to bring them with you on the hike, on our hike at least. But be aware that cell phone coverage in mountains is limited. There are places along this hike, cell phones don't work, folks. Yeah, they won't. So I also will be bringing with me special walkie-talkies with different channels on the walkie-talkies. And the walkie-talkies I will be bringing include a channel that is monitored by emergency personnel in law enforcement as well as the National Park Service. So if there were an emergency and our cell phones don't work, and I also will have a cell phone too, I will still be able to contact emergency services to help us out. But if you're ever going hiking on your own, know your limitations and be able to plan for your hike well enough so that you know what kind of cell phone coverage there might be in any particular region. All right, moving on. What to bring? First and foremost, bring a pack yourself for carrying your gear. I'll be carrying my gear and maybe some extra things like the first aid kit, but make sure you have a pack for your stuff and all of your stuff, especially if you're layering your clothes. Make sure all your clothes fit in your pack. Second, bring sturdy shoes and socks and layers of clothes to wear. I've already talked about the layers of clothes. If there's any possibility of drizzly, windy weather, you might want to also bring a light rain jacket as well to protect you from the elements because you want to be comfortable. But let's talk about the shoes and socks for a moment. Flip-flops won't cut it. All right, slip-ons won't cut it. We're going to be hiking for 3 hours over rough terrain, lots of rocks. You don't want exposed feet, folks. You want sturdy shoes. If you have hiking boots, that's great. Steel-toe boots can double as hiking boots. I'll probably be wearing those. A good pair of sneakers are fine, but you don't want to be wearing something so thin that your toes come through. And as far as socks are concerned, 2 pairs of socks might be a good idea because as we hike and especially as we descend, there's going to be a lot of friction between our feet and the shoe that we're wearing. 2 pairs of socks can enable your feet to slide a little bit better against the fabric of your shoe as opposed to the skin rubbing against the fabric of your shoe, which can totally cause nasty blister formation. So if you have 2 pairs of socks, especially if you don't have a good pair of hiking boots, 2 pairs of socks might be a great idea. And here's another tip. We've had a lot of rain recently, and I know on the way down, we may have to walk through a couple of streams. So your feet might get a little wet. So packing a dry pair of socks along with you might help you be more comfy for the way home as well. All right, we've already talked about the layers of clothes, and I want to also mention what else you should have in your pack. Bring water. Now, it doesn't mean bring 2 gallons of water. We're only hiking for 3 hours. A couple of water bottles at least. Couple of water bottles. When I say water bottles, I mean, portable water bottles. If you bring a big, one of those big water flasks, consider how heavy it is because water isn't light. If you bring a huge flask of water that weighs 10 pounds and put another 5 pounds of water in it, then you got 15 pounds to carry. But if you bring a couple of water bottles, the bottles themselves don't have much weight to them. So consider that. Also, food. You might want to bring some snacks to munch on along the way to keep your energy up. And certainly remember, we're packing a bagged lunch for this trip. You're carrying your own lunch on hike day so that we can enjoy a half an hour lunch with a beautiful view when we get to the top of Mount Tammany. Now, other supplies that you might want to consider bringing. If it's a sunny day, maybe put some sunscreen on, especially if you're prone to getting sunburn. If you're prone to getting chapped lips, if it's windy, and it's always windy at the top of Mount Tammany, let me tell you, maybe some chapstick type of a product to keep your lips soft and supple so that you can give your mom a big kiss when you get back home safe at the end of the day. Bug spray. It's the spring season of the year right now. Ticks may be starting to come out on hike day. There may be black flies at various places. If you don't want to be bugged by the bugs, bring some bug spray. Or at the very least, put some bug spray on your ankles, wrists, neck, and head, and your legs before the hike, and you should be fine all day. Another thing to consider, and I'll have this in the first aid kit, we're going to stay away from any poison ivy or poison oak, but if you get stung by a mosquito and get an itchy spot or touch poison, you might start itching. Avoid the temptation to scratch. I'll have some anti-itch spray to help prevent you from scratching because if you don't scratch, it will heal a lot quicker. So there are some suggestions for you on things to bring with you. If you have a camera and or a cell phone with a camera on it, that's fine, but you are responsible for it and you will need to carry it yourself. So make sure you have permission from home before you bring anything of true value with you on this hike. Next, hike smart. There are certain things that we need to consider to stay safe. Be smart. You're not going by yourself. We are going in a group. So we're going to keep a safe pace for the entire group. There are some in our group that might have be a bundle of energy and want to run up the mountain. You're not going to be allowed to do that in our group hike. There are those in our group that might need more time to get up the mountain. I, as the group leader, will keep a safe pace for the entire group. I'll have communication by way of walkie-talkie with me, and I will be setting the pace for the group, and so I will be the group leader. No one should get in front of me during the hike. You may think I'm going too slow, then what I suggest you do is sit down and rest for a little while. Wait until the last person with the walkie-talkie, probably my wife, Mrs. Skirps, will be at the end of the group with her walkie-talkie, and she and I will be communicating with one another all the time. Maybe go back and hang out with her, and then you can walk fast through the group and catch up to me again, if you've got that much energy. But I encourage you to conserve your energy. Save it. You're going to need it, believe me. But do not go in front of the group leader, and that will be me. So don't go in front of me. I will keep the pace. Stay together and check in. As I said, I'll have walkie-talkie in the front. My wife will have the walkie-talkie in the back. There will be adults smattered throughout the group that will be available for you to talk to and check in. But if anything should happen to you during the hike, and there are parts of the hike where we're going to be spread out for a little distance because of the different paces. But if something happens to you, you get injured, you twist your ankle, whatever, tell one of the adults so that the adults can communicate with the rest of the adults, and we can make sure that we address your needs and concerns. So stay together and check in periodically. To help facilitate that, we're going to be taking frequent breaks along the way, both on the way up and on the way down. And during these breaks, I'll be sharing information with you. I'll also be sharing the opportunity to take pictures of various things. So we'll be taking frequent breaks and an opportunity to rest. Next, keep away from dangers like poison ivy, poison oak, various poison plants I'll be pointing out to you. Any animals, whether it's someone else hiking the trail with a pet dog, stay away from them. You can't trust a strange dog. They might say that, oh yeah, it's friendly, and last thing we need is for you to get bit or licked to death, all right? Stay away from wild animals. We may see snakes or salamanders. We may even see some black bears coming out of hibernation. Stay away from wildlife for safety as well as abiding by the law. In a national park area, it is illegal to harass the wildlife, and throwing rocks and sticks and stones and kicking or disturbing wildlife in any way, shape, or form is harassment to wildlife. We are visiting their home. Leave them alone as we walk on by, and maybe we'll see more wildlife for you to take pictures of. Another thing that I must mention is, if you look at this picture behind me, we're going to be on a cliffside. I know the safe areas. I've been up this trail many times before. I know where it is safe to go to. I will be keeping you safe, but you have to do your part by listening to what I tell you to do and what I tell you not to do. If I point out that this location, you can go to here but no further, don't go any further, because the consequences might be very, very severe. So stay on the trail, keep away from dangers, stay behind me, and listen to my instructions. And that is how you can hike smart. We want to hike smart so that we can hike this trail again. Most importantly, and by the way, this rock feature here, and we will see this feature before we even begin hiking from the visitor center before we start ascending the mountain. This is the feature called Indian Head. If you use your imagination, you can make out the nose of the Indian here. Here's the chin of the Indian and the mouth. Here's the eye of the Indian. Here's the face of the Indian, and the rocks back here and the trees up here are like a feather headdress of the Indian. So this is called Indian Head. If you look on topographic maps, you'll see this feature listed. We're going to be hiking to the top of this and beyond, so we'll be on his forehead. But most importantly, whenever going for any kind of a hike, have fun. Have fun. We're going to have loads of fun, especially if we hike smart. Take pictures. You will want to remember this hike for the rest of your life. So make sure you take plenty of pictures along the way, especially at the photo ops that I point out to you. The next one here, leave no traces. This is a very important rule of the road, if you wish, to hiking. If you pack something in, pack it out. Like if you're packing in food that's wrapped in something, then you can pack out that garbage that you carried in. You can pack it out in your backpack on the way out. In fact, we'll have some garbage bags at our disposal. So along our hike, if we see some garbage along the way, we're going to be collecting garbage along the way and carrying it out as well, because we want to leave no traces of humans on this hike. We want future people, future generations, and you, the next time you come on this hike with your family, to enjoy unspoiled nature. So we leave no traces behind, and the only thing we take are pictures. We don't take anything out of the wild with us, and if you're wondering why, remember the lesson when we talked in geology during Unit 1 about Obsidian Cliff in Yellowstone National Park? Need I say more? So don't take anything with you except for pictures. But I want you to make something. Make memories. You're going to be making memories on hike day that will last a lifetime. And if you take good pictures, you'll have a better chance of remembering those memories when you get to my age. So have fun, take pictures, leave no traces, and make memories. Again, as a reminder, we are going to be starting out at the Tammany Point Visitor Center, hiking up the Red Dot Trail to the summit, having lunch, and then hiking down the Blue Dot Trail. We're going to intersect the Green Dot Trail and then the White Dot Trail, which is the Appalachian Trail, which will bring us back to the Tammany Point Visitor Center. But the two trails we're climbing and descending are the Red Dot Trail and the Blue Dot Trail. Those are the trails we're going to be focusing on. And as we make our 3-mile loop on hike day, we are going to be ascending over 1,200 feet to a summit of over 1,500 feet above sea level. And as we do that, this will be our starting picture and our ending picture on hike day. And I hope that you will be able to enjoy our hike up and down Mount Tammany as much as I've enjoyed doing it. And I've hiked it, if I had to count, I think I've hiked it a couple of 100 times in my life. And every time I see something new, and I never tire of the views. And I hope you will too. So when this video is over, I would like you to take the quiz that I've prepared for you to make sure that you were paying attention and that you are ready for hike day. So, ladies and gentlemen, for now, I'm going to say bye-bye.